welcome back. We want to talk really quickly about Book of the Month.
Now, this is a great gift idea, is a subscription to Book of the Month, because that's how I got involved in Book of the Month, is you gave me a free credit there, and I got the Star-Crossed
Yes, I think
Sisters and fell in love with it, and now I've just blown up my shelves with Book of the Month.
absolutely. You have a whole cart.
I do. I have a whole cart, and I need a second cart at this point.
Yes. So, this year I took on the 24 book challenge with Book of the Month. I read 24 books from Book of the Month, and I want to take this time to go through my list. I'm not going to talk too much about the books because we're trying to keep this video a little short, but here we go. First up, I read Emma in the Night, which was one of my favorite thrillers, 5-star, easy. The next was Kiss Quotient, which was possibly my only 5-star romance ever. I loved it. Perfect book. The Lies We Told was next. It's technically horror, but it goes into more of a thriller suspense. 4.5 stars on that one. No Exit. If you've never read No Exit, high octane thriller. There's a show on Hulu, 5 stars. When the Sky Fell on Splendor, which was an Emily Henry one. I've already talked about that one in a video, so you already know my rating on that. Fate of the Fallen, same thing. Then The Shadows, which was my big Halloween read, and it was super spooky. If you like spooky reads, definitely 5 stars on that one. So next up we have The Lost Apothecary, which I had kind of forgotten that I read this year, but it is one of their older books. It is phenomenal. You should definitely check that one out.
Yeah, it was last year. It was like made the finalist for Books of the Year.
Book of the Year, yes, absolutely. We Were Never Here was another popular one from last year. It was a great thriller, a lot of fun, very tropical, and a good twist at the end. Velvet Was the Night. That was one I didn't enjoy so much, and I can't explain why. It wasn't that it was a bad book. I think it just didn't appeal to me as much as the other ones did. Still a good read, so you should check it out if you enjoy noir literature. My Dark Vanessa was one that I struggled to read. It is kind of like Lolita from the woman's perspective, but it goes into a lot of detail that I personally felt could have been left out. It was a little bit of a traumatic read, so not one I would actually recommend, but I understand why it's a big deal. It deals with a taboo subject that probably shouldn't be taboo. It's something, if we talked about it more, it might not happen as much. Flicker in the Dark, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the twist at the end of that. And it was a debut, like, great book. Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I liked it a lot. I liked it so much more than The Wife Upstairs. It was well written, the twist was good, the character development was excellent. The character development had to be excellent for the twist at the end, so check that one out. The Golden Couple was another one I read. Book of the Month does this thing where sometimes they hit on a theme and they continue to hit on the theme. And The Golden Couple, the theme was troubled marriages. And it was a good book. It was like Goodnight Beautiful, which is another one on my list, so check that off. Goodnight Beautiful, both are good books, but after reading Goodnight Beautiful and then reading The Golden Couple, it was like, I just read the same book. Again, not a bad book, super good thriller, but it was one of those I should have taken a break between reads. River Enchanted was another one. It was a fantasy. I've talked about it. I loved it.
I think it was one of your favorite books this year.
It really was. Like, yeah. I've kind of talked about it nonstop. The Book of Cold Cases, which was my first Simone St. James book that I've finished, that I've read, and I didn't expect the spookiness. Pleasantly surprised. Such a good read. Such a good thriller. Tell Me Everything was my big true crime novel this year. I always try to get some true crime in there because I do enjoy it. If you haven't read that book, it might be the most important book I read.
Oh wow!
Like,
and I think I think your true crime comes from the fact that your grandfather was
yes.
a detective and used to tell you stories when you were little.
Oh,
that,
yes.
That you couldn't repeat in school.
Exactly. But Tell Me Everything is one of those that if my grandfather had anything to do with that story, he would have been busting heads at the University of Colorado at Boulder, even though they never mentioned the university in the novel. It is about basically a big scandal that occurred there.
Wow. And
I don't want to go into too much detail. Know that it can be triggering for some people, but it definitely deals with... It happened way before the Me Too movement, but kind of the same thematically, if that gives you a good idea. Next was Pieces of Her, which surprisingly was my first book I've read written by Karen Slaughter, and she's a massive thriller writer, so I don't know why that is. Great book. Kind of deals a little with cults, but also with family. So an interesting read. Stardust Thief, we literally just talked about that in the last video we made, so I'm not going to say too much. Things We Do in the Dark. If you are into Hollywood stories, Things We Do in the Dark might be right up your alley. Next is The Bodyguard, and I lied when I said The Kiss Quotient was my only 5-star romance novel because I forgot about The Bodyguard for a minute. 5-star romance novel, so much fun. It has a little bit of action adventure in there, and the female protagonist is actually hilarious. She is the bodyguard in the story, and she's kind of awesome, not gonna lie. The House Across the Lake was a Riley Sager novel.
You like Riley Sager?
I love Riley Sager, so basically anything by him is gonna make my list. Next, I haven't actually posted about this one because I didn't finish it, because I guessed the twist on chapter 20, and that is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. And I don't want to say too much because a lot of people really loved that book, and I don't think it's fair that, you know, I didn't finish it and would say anything about it, but I guessed the twist really early, and in my opinion it uses child death as a plot device. And I hate when authors do that. So
too dramatic.
Yes, and it was probably my least favorite book that I attempted to read this year, because I got to chapter 20, figured it out, flipped to the end to make sure I was right, and I was like, oh well, that's terrible. That said, a lot of people enjoyed it, so take that with a grain of salt.
True.
So those were my 24 books, not counting the Alice Hoffman one, which was actually, you read that one.
Yeah.
So we will get to Becky's list next week.
I did not read 24 books from Book of the Month. I read 12.
Which is still a good list.
Yeah. I read some other books that were not Book of the Month, but yeah.
True.
I think I'm up to a total of 18 this year.
You also watch my children every day.
I do.
So it's very hard to read with them. They just climb you. That's
okay. That is okay. It's worth it. So all right.
That's our list. Until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.